There's another one, walking down the street. Look out, here comes the disease. We can't help your kind, it's store policy. Please, ma'am, you need to leave. These are the words spewed at me because of the way I am seen. I walk these streets wanting to be free, wishing I was anyone but me. Ever since I was a little girl, I learned that I was quite different from the other kids. Now, as I grew up, I learned that our differences were beyond the physical. I didn't understand this until I had my realization moment. My moment specifically happened the first time I saw someone like myself on screen. I remember being absolutely ecstatic to finally see a character with similar features to mine. I thought maybe then I'd finally feel as if I was a part of the story. Yet, as I continued watching, it became obvious that this character was nothing more than a side piece. I started to realize how differently they were dressed, cared for, interacted with, and slowly, I began to accept the fact that the only time I'll ever see someone like myself on screen is when they needed someone to ridicule, which I ended up seeing a lot of. In almost every movie with an obvious Asian character, they were never taken seriously. Some of my favorite examples being Long Duk Dong from 16 Candles and Mr. Chow from The Hangover. The usage of Asian cultures and traditions as a joke in the media opened the gate for the allowance of hatred and racism. And I've experienced this ignorance firsthand. Growing up, I was one of the only Asians in my elementary school class, which led to me being the butt of countless different school jokes. Some of them being that I was consistently told that I had chinky eyes, that my lunch smelled disgusting, and being asked the most infamous question that every single person of color has ever gotten, "Where are you really from?" was my new normal. And it hurt. At just 10 years old, I began to hate myself for something that I couldn't even control. It was like no matter what I did or said, all I'd ever be known as is that Asian girl who wasn't like them and never would be. Because of this, I started to hate myself more and more and more. So, by the time that I got to middle school, I finally began to realize that I shouldn't look at myself like this. But before I did that, I had to understand the fact that my mindset wasn't going to change on its own. I believed that I was disgusting. I didn't feel as if I was worthy. I told myself that I need to change, so I did. I put down my adobo and rice and picked up some burger and fries. I let them comment about my eyes, and I let them all believe that I was from China and knew Bruce Lee. Well, the Bruce Lee part was kind of cool. But because of this, it ruined my image and it ruined my imagination of what I should be and what I could be. It wasn't until I participated in a traditional event with my family that I finally understood that in order to help myself and in order to love myself more, I need to start with my culture. So that's exactly what I did. I forced myself to learn more about my origins, my heritage, and it wasn't until I rediscovered my culture that I was finally myself, happy. But sadly enough, that happiness was short-lived, as the world went into lockdown over the pandemic, which was entirely blamed on Asians. This meant that any Asian, or any person in particular, would be the reason for COVID. But because of that, every time that I stepped out of the house, I felt as if nobody liked me for who I was. I was afraid of walking down the street just because I thought that when I did that, I would get hurt. But because of this, I learned a lot about what I need to do to better myself. It wasn't until I understood that I'm not the virus that I began to accept the fact that I shouldn't be afraid anymore. The main thing that I realized was that I have today to change my mindset on myself. Unless I change my mindset, then the world won't. In order to change the world's perspective on Asians, we must all start with ourselves. I must start with myself. So, what did I do? I learned more. I talked about it with my peers, and I forced myself to become a better person because of COVID. But because of this, and because of people in power giving the name COVID, such as the Chinese virus or the Kung flu, Asians all throughout America became a target. I became a target. We were moved to everybody's most hated list, and for example, one time, everybody knows what TikTok is, all teens love it, so I decided that I should post a simple video of me doing a dance. Now, I expected nothing more than 1 million likes and 1,000 comments about how beautiful I am. But I didn't get that. I got hate. A comment that called me a bat eater, one that called me a virus carrier, and one that told me to go back from where I came. This absolutely hurt me. Although they were comments, it tore me apart. It brought back all these old feelings of hatred and disgust, feelings that I had hoped to never feel again. From this, I experienced so much sadness. It's like, I'm just a kid, but yet I'm so hated. But how do we fix this? I'm so afraid to go outside, but I know that nothing can happen if I do nothing. If I want to see a change, I must help create it. If I want to make something happen, I must make it happen. So, I must educate myself and others on the importance of understanding cultures before you judge them. I must help provide resources for myself and others on how to promote a healthier version of yourself. I must use what I have. I know that I have today to make a difference, and it cannot wait. The road to equality may be long, but every beginning has its end. And to reach a more equal end, I must use what I have, and that's today. Thank you.